Okay, good morning everyone, and Chazak, Baruch, thank you for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday morning, and happy Yom Yerushalayim to everyone. As today we celebrate Yom Yerushalayim, the day that we are able to celebrate the fact that we could go today to Jerusalem to pray at the Kotel, at the holiest site for the Jewish people today. The fact that we can go there is really a bracha. It's a gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's something that our great-grandparents couldn't do. And they've been trying, and people have risked their lives to go to Eretz Yisrael, to the holy sites. And Bezrat Hashem, we should be zocheh to celebrate next year, not only Yerushalayim, but Yom Bet HaMikdash, Bezrat Hashem, as we rebuild the temple with the Mashiach, B'mira b'yameinu, Amen. My friends, Parashat Bamidbar, Parashat Bamidbar. The new Parashat, new book of Numbers. Our Parashat begins with a counting of all of the Jewish people, how many of each tribe. And there's something fascinating when you go through the numbers. I'll just read to you the numbers very quickly, okay? And a lot of the Parashah is just paperwork like this, just factual information, and who was traveling where in the desert, which tribe was on the east, on the west, the flags that they had, just all that stuff. But there is a lot to learn. So, as an example, the Torah says to take a census, to take a counting of how many people we have. And I'll just read to you some of the numbers, okay? So we have the tribe of Reuven. How many people for the tribe of Reuven? Shesha ve'arba'im elef, 46,500. Very nice. Shimon, Tish'a v'hamishim elef, 59,300. Okay? Gad, we have for the tribe of Gad, Hamisha v'arba'im, 45,650. And for the tribe of Yehuda, okay, that was a big one, 74,600. The tribe of Yisachar, and again, I'm reading right here, chapter 1. You could follow along. The tribe of Yisachar, Arba'a v'hamishim elef, 54,400. The tribe of Zevulun, 57,400. So we're talking about in the high, mid tens of thousands, right? We have 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, 70,000. These are the numbers that we're seeing per tribe. Okay, what's the problem? Problems like this. And again, all the tribes are like that pretty much. But here's the problem. And this is going to be today's class. After we count the tribes, we then have a separate counting for the tribe of Levi. The tribe of Levi. How many people for the tribe of Levi? How many people for the tribe of Levi? God says over here. Fast forward chapter 3. Pekod et bnei Levi. I want you to count the people of Levi from 1 month and above. And how much are they? Comes the Torah and says, Shivat alafi. This is the individual family. Here, Pasuk 39. Kol pekudei halviim, the total number of Levi. Asher pakad Moshe, that Moshe counted with Aharon. Kol zachar, every male, meben chodesh v'mala, from a month and above, shenaim ve'esrim alef, 22,000. Okay, so the tribe of Levi, chapter 3, Pasuk 39, totaled 22,000. This is a problem. Notice the discrepancy. The numbers are much less. And look at this is not the Ora Haim's question, this is the Ramban Nachmanides questions. Look at what Nachmanides asks. Ramban writes, Ramban Tama Badavar, the Ramban is perplexed. Sheyesh Litmoa Bo, very puzzling. Ki Halviim hen hen yedidei Adonai ukrovav. The Leviim are the beloved of Hashem. Va'asher lo hatu ba'egel. The Leviim, first of all, they're Hashem's closest tribe. They work in the temple. The Leviim did not die in the Egel. Lo nigfu v'lo horgu v'lo hushku. Remember we said in the last class, three different ways that people died for the aftermath of the sin of the golden calf. They either were killed, or they were died by the plague, or they drank the water. Levi wasn't affected by any of that. The tribe of Levi, no one died in the plague, in the golden calf. So they're very close to Hashem, so you would think that they would multiply a lot. No one died. They didn't get hit by the golden calf. How could it be that they were such a small number than all of the other tribes? First of all, don't forget, we're counting from a month old. All the other tribes were counted from 20 years old. So here you have a lot more people that you're adding in the tribe of Levi, because you're starting from 30 days old. And still, with all of that, they don't even reach the smallest tribe. The smallest tribe was the tribe of Menashe, 32,000. That was the smallest tribe. Binyamin, 35,400. And that, again, was only counting those from 20 and up. Here, you're counting from a month old and up. And you didn't even reach 22,000. So imagine you started counting Levi from age 20 and up. How much do you think it would have? Much less, for sure, than 22,000. Maybe 10,000. I don't know. So you wouldn't even reach half of the smallest tribe. So Ora Hayim wants to understand, how do you have such a small population of Levi? Why is Levi so small? This is the question of the Ramban. Amazing question. V'ra'iti sheyishev shnei derachim. The Ramban gives two answers over there. Aha, number one. And Ora Hayim is going to analyze each one individually. Number one. The Ramban gives an amazing answer. He says that the reason the Jewish people were increased so much, he says, is that the Jewish people's miraculous growth in Egypt came because of their suffering, because of the oni, because of the affliction that they suffered, that they experienced. You know, the pasuk says in Shemot, "Ka'asher ye'anu oto, ken yirbeh v'chen yifrotz." The more the Egyptians tried to hit us, the more we came, right? The more they tried to kill us, the more we populated. It's like the frogs. Remember the plague of the frogs? They tried to kill the frog doubled. That's what happened to the Jewish people. The Egyptians tried to kill us. The more they tried to kill us, the more we multiplied. This is something that we saw beautifully just a couple of days ago on the Israeli Day Parade. We had record-breaking numbers from all the years that there was ever a parade. They tried to hurt us. They tried to scare us. They tried to push us away. More show up. We only get closer. We only get stronger. We only get better. The Goyim don't realize that actually they're the reason that we shape up. They're the reason that we improve. They're the reason that we grow. It's counterproductive. They're trying to kill us, and actually it's thanks to them that we have more children. They try to kill us. It's thanks to them that we become more peaceful. They try to hurt us. It's because of them that we get a geulah, that we get salvation. This is what happened in Egypt. The Egyptians tried to kill us. Ka'asher ye'anu oto, and the more they hit us, ken yirbeh, the more they would increase. So says the Ramban, there was one tribe that wasn't afflicted. The tribe of Levi. The tribe of Levi wasn't hit. They were exempt. We know this. This was actually thanks to Yosef HaTzadik. When Yosef created the whole system, when everyone came to him for food, so he took all their money. Then they ran out of money. They needed more food. There was still famine. So then he took their land. Then they sold themselves to Yosef. So he made a rule that clergy don't have to pay taxes. Till today, you have clergy, right? There are these exemptions in taxes, right? Parsonage, things like that. So Yosef HaTzadik was the first guy to do this. And because of that, the system stayed ingrained in Egyptian culture. That later on, when the Jewish people themselves were being enslaved by the Egyptians still pardoned the clergy from having to pay taxes, from having to work. That's why you find the tribe of Levi was not afflicted. They left Levi alone. like the rabbis, they left them alone. They knew, Levi, we don't touch them. Even the Egyptians, as bad as they were, they killed the babies and they threw them in the river, but the Egyptians they left alone. They didn't enslave them. That's why you find that as an example, Moshe and Aharon, they walk in and out of the palace. What do you mean? Take a whip, go back to work. No, they didn't have to go back to work. We're Levi, we're exempt. We're exempt. Interesting. So the Egyptians understood that. And this is the system of Yosef HaTzadik. But either way, says the Ramban, since the Jewish people, they only grew because of the affliction. So if Levi wasn't afflicted, so they wouldn't grow. That's why Levi's number was much less. This is answer 1 of the Ramban. Very nice answer. Answer number 2 he gives. Ka'aso shel Yaakov Avinu alav shalom. Because of Yaakov's anger. On Yaakov on his deathbed, he was so angry at the tribe of Levi for what they did. Remember what they did. He cursed him for killing Shechem. And so Levi's number decreased. The Levi's number decreased. These are the 2 answers of Ramban. In the Orah Hayim, he addresses each one. He says, Ta'am hasheni rahok. Second explanation is remote. I don't like it. Why? He says, what are you talking about? Yaakov didn't curse their number. He didn't curse the population. He didn't curse that they should die. He didn't curse that they should have low numbers. They shouldn't have a lot of children. That's not what his curse was. What was his curse? All he said, I will separate them within Yaakov. I will disperse them in Israel. He didn't say that they're going to have fewer offspring. All Yaakov Avinu said was that Levi is dangerous, so I need to scatter him. He'll be spread out. So that's why we find in the land of Israel, the tribe of Levi did not have a piece of land. They had pockets here and there all over. So they would be neutralized. That's the tribe of Levi. So don't tell me that they died, that they didn't have a high population because of the curse of Yaakov. The curse of Yaakov had nothing to do with their number size. Not only that, another proof that Yaakov didn't curse them is that if you look in the book of Devrei Hayamim, the Leviim over there, they totaled 38,000 men just between the ages of 30 and 50. So think about this for a second. 38,000 men between 30 and 50. And over here, in our parasha Naso, next week we're going to read, between 30 and 50, they totaled 8,580 men. So says the Orah Hayim, do the math. How much did they increase by? From 8,000 to 38,000. Around, right, 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, around 5 times. They grew by 5 in the years from the desert till the book of Chronicles was written. Devrei Hayamim. Okay. And the Jewish people as a whole, they didn't increase, not even almost by double in that same time frame. He goes on and he proves it. They didn't double. And he brings the math. So we see that the tribe of Levi multiplied beautifully from the desert all the way until Divrei Hayamim, to the book of Chronicles. So where's the anger of Yaakov if they were cursed? How did they multiply? How did they multiply? And they multiplied more than the rest of the Jewish people. Where's the anger of Yaakov? Where's the curse? So therefore, clearly Yaakov's curse was not the cause of a decrease of population. It wasn't the reason that they didn't grow. There's a different reason they didn't grow. So he goes now back to reason number 1. Reason number 1 of the Ramban was because they weren't afflicted. And so if you're not afflicted, then you don't get the perks of being increased miraculously. Let's address that one. He says, Ta'am harishon hu ta'am nachon. The first reason, which links Levi's small population to the lack of suffering it experienced, is a sound explanation. Aval lo yutzdak. But the problem is, there is a chazal that goes against this. There's a different midrashim. So Or HaHaim says there's one that negates this answer. Why? What does the midrash say? Amru lo met Yaakov at shehigiu Yisrael ichlal mispar shishim ribo. That Yaakov didn't die until we reached 600,000. So this is a problem for us. We have to seek another explanation. Because according to this, Yaakov's descendants already reached the magic number of 600,000 before he died. And we know that in his lifetime, there was no affliction of anyone. Nobody was afflicted. Not Levi and not the other tribes. The affliction only started after Yaakov died. So it seems like the Jews increased in numbers even before the affliction started. So then the first answer doesn't work anymore. So therefore comes along the Or HaHaim, right? Bottom line, the growth happened before the affliction began. Because again, we hit 600,000 in Yaakov's lifetime. The affliction only began after he died. So we cannot answer that it's a result of the affliction. And that Levi didn't experience affliction and therefore they didn't experience growth. That's not a good answer anymore. You may answer now, maybe you'll say, maybe you'll say like this. Really, Levi had a lot during Yaakov's lifetime, the same as the rest of the tribes. Then after Yaakov died, they decreased. And then after the decrease, because they weren't afflicted, they didn't increase the same rate. He says, why? Where'd you get that from? That they died after the first increase. After Yaakov died, they also died, that they decreased the number. Where'd you get that from? Where'd you get that from? And another answer, you may say, Haya ha'aron mechale b'hem. The Aaron caused the death to Levi. We know the Aaron was very holy. And people that carried the Aaron that weren't worthy, they would die. So you say maybe that's why Levi was so small in number. But says again, Or HaHaim, but that's only later on they died. Because of the carrying. They didn't carry it yet here. The tally, the numbers, the population that we're listing now of 22,000, this is before anyone had to carry anything. So again, no one's dying. There's no curse. The population isn't, the numbers isn't because of the affliction. So we need now a third new answer. Says the Or HaHaim his own answer. Hanachon be'enai. The reason is that Levi went down in population. You ready? Why do they only total 22,000? And you're counting from the age of 30 days old? Ki shevet Levi ma'aseh ehad lahem ki ma'aseh Amram. Wow. Says the Or HaHaim, because the tribe of Levi, they conducted themselves in the same manner as their leader, Amram. Amram was the father of Moshe Rabbeinu. Amram was the Gadol Hador. And we know, Asher shilach et ishto, Amram divorced his wife. When the decree of throwing all the babies in the Nile, when the decree came out, Amram separated. Now, they said, why should we have children? Why should we have children? They're going to get killed anyways. So Amram divorced his wife. And when Amram divorced, everyone else divorced. But says the Or HaHaim, only the tribe of Levi divorced. The rest of the tribes, they didn't divorce. The rest of the tribes kept having children. Why? The reason Levi divorced was because they were very comfortable. They were spoiled. They, again, like we said before, they weren't afflicted. Because not being enslaved, lo namas levavam, their heart did not become desensitized. They didn't reach a level that they were, because they weren't afflicted, so they were spoiled. So they couldn't see their children being thrown in the river. So therefore they said, we'd rather not have children. We'd rather not have children than bring them out into a world like this where they're going to be thrown into the river. However, the rest of the people, the regular Jews that were being afflicted anyways, mitzad hashibud ve'ol avodah, because of the enslavement, because of the yoke of servitude, they had become desensitized. Huzal ve'hukal be'enehim u'bil'lavam l'r'ot yadehem u'shlachim. So therefore, seeing their children being thrown into the river became cheap and lessened in their eyes. It would be painful to have my kid be killed, but it's not going to stop me from having kids. In life, when you're, right, you see it all the time. When you live on a very high level, standard, so you cannot handle pain the same as people that don't have that same high standard. You're spoiled. You're mifunak. You can't, right? The people that struggled most in COVID, people that they live in the lap of luxury. Because now I gotta take a big cutback from my regular lifestyle. I'm not used to this. It's very hard. I can't handle this. The people that anyways, they're always struggling. So COVID's another challenge. No big deal. So in life, being training, and this is important, to train our children to build tough skin, to build resiliency, to build thick skin, to build callous. When bad things happen in life, that's an opportunity to toughen up. If you're going to spoil your kid all day, you're not preparing him for real life. One day something's going to happen, he's not going to know how to handle it. He's not going to be able. And that's what happened with Levi. Levi, because they were spoiled a little bit, because they were enslaved, so now they didn't have children. They didn't have children. I can't handle having kids and having to risk one of them being thrown in the river. The rest of the Jewish people, they learned to live with it. We'll have kids. We'll try to hide them. If they get thrown in, then so be it. But this is the reality. And they were able to populate. They were able to continue and grow. Not only that, but the rest of the Israelim, they were having babies in the middle of the road, on the street, on the sidewalks, on tunnels. They would have babies and they would leave them, and Hashem helped them. And the tribe of Levi, they were still dignified. They still had self-respect. Again, they were walking in and out. They weren't being tortured, so their bar was still very high. So they couldn't handle this lifestyle of having babies and then throwing them in the water. So they just didn't have babies to begin with. So that's why Amram and all the tribe of Levi, they separated. They couldn't handle it. You see, Amram divorced his wife. Now the truth is, this whole thing that he got divorced and remarried is only implied. The pasuk says that a man went and took a lady, and they got married, and they had Moshe Rabbeinu. Now we know Moshe wasn't the oldest son. Moshe, there were two older siblings. He had Aharon and Miriam. He had an older brother and he had an older sister. And so Moshe Rabbeinu, how could the pasuk say that he went and he married her and they had Moshe? What about the older two siblings? So you see from there, must be they got divorced beforehand, and then they remarried later on and they had Moshe. So the tribe of Amram, the tribe of Levi, they all separated from their wives. Vezohi sibat mi'utam. That's why they have a small population. Ki im en gedayim en teyashim. Without kids, there's no goats. So if you don't have children today, there won't be adults in the future. We have to realize this. You look at the world today, and you look at the average family size, the population. Every family is having average rate of a growth of a family is 2 dogs and half a kid. That's the rate that people are growing today. And then you look at the Arabs, they're having 9, 10, 12, 15 kids. What's going to be in 50 years? What's going to be in 50 years? In 50 years, who's going to be the future? Who's the adults in 50 years from now? Well, you have to look at the kids. Who are the kids today? The kids create adults. So all it takes is one generation to stop having kids, and you die. No one's left. Yasser Arafat said this in Mahshemo. He said that we don't have to kill anyone. The Arab woman, she's a biological bomb. Just by having kids, she'll do the work like that. And the world is nuts. Have less kids, birth control and everything, and then abortion, and then what's going to be in who, right? And really, it's the whole thing. They realize there's a problem here. They realize, there's no one being born because of this approach, because of this mentality. So who's going to vote for them? So that's why they have other policy to make up for the lack of votes. They have to allow immigrants, and they have to allow things to help the votes. It's all domino effect, you understand? So this is what happened with the tribe of Levi. Now the truth is, you'll say, but Rabbi, Amram remarried. So maybe the rest of the tribe remarried too. No, don't learn from there that everyone remarried. He remarried because he got a prophecy. Amram got a nevu'ah. Now this is the opinion of the Zohar. The Zohar says that the reason Amram remarried Yocheved is because of the prophecy. There is the famous opinion of the Midrash. The Gemara argues. The Gemara says the reason he remarried was because Miriam, his daughter, came and she rebuked him. She said, Dad, Paro is only killing the boys. You're killing boys and girls by not having more children. Now, according to that logic, everyone should get remarried. Amram and everyone. But the Orah Haim is following over here the opinion of the Zohar. But that's not why he remarried. He remarried not because of his daughter's rebuke. He remarried because of a prophecy. There was a prophecy that they're going to have a child who's going to redeem the Jewish people. Now, if that prophecy, then that only holds true for him and his wife. No one else needs to get remarried. The prophecy only applies to them. By the way, I always feel like these movies, Harry Potter and Star Wars, the prophecy of the child who's going to be born, they for sure were influenced by, our books, our Tanakh, our literature. There's no way they didn't read this stuff. You know what I mean? They're for sure studying these things. So, the baby's going to be born, but this prophecy, that's over here. There was a prophecy. The Zohar HaKadosh, he's quoting the Orah Haim quoting. So, and the Pasuk says furthermore, V'tetatzav achoto merachok. Miriam stood from far to watch. Why did she watch? She wanted to know what's going to be with her prophecy. What's going to be with the voice that we heard? What's going to be with this baby Moshe? He's the promised one. He's the one that's going to bring the balance to the empire. So what's going to be with him? So that's why only Amram remarried. No one else needed to remarry because it didn't apply to them, right? Didn't apply to them. So now we have a nice answer. The reason Levi's population didn't multiply as much as the rest of the tribes is because Levi stopped having kids. The whole tribe divorced for a few years because they didn't want their babies to be thrown in the river. The other tribes, they didn't care if their babies are thrown in the river because anyways, they're being afflicted and enslaved, and what's the problem? But Levi, they were spoiled, so they didn't want to have kids. They didn't want to bring the kids into this world. V'im Toma, now you'll ask, Lama shevet ben Torah ya'aseh mi'ut priya v'rebiyah? You'll ask another question though, but Rabbi, there's a mitzvah to have children. How could the tribe of Levi, who are rabbis, b'nei Torah, how could they stop having children going against an explicit mitzvah of peru urbu, of multiplying? What about that mitzvah? He answers over here practically. You don't want to struggle for nothing, in vain. We find the halacha idea actually similar to this. You're not allowed to have children during the years of famine. You cannot, enjoy yourself when everyone is suffering. What about the fact that you're not bringing kids in the world? What about not bringing kids into the world? The answer is, that first of all, you only have to have a boy and a girl. Halachically mideoraita. Once you have a boy and a girl, you should have more kids midrabanan. But maybe the mitzvah of having a boy and a girl is enough, and I don't have to continue having kids during a year of famine, during crisis. And we actually find, interestingly, that Amram and Yocheved had a boy and a girl. So they stopped. They stopped right after having a boy and a girl. And that's what everyone else did in the time as well. Maybe they only had a boy and a girl, they only had 2 kids, and then they stopped having kids. And comes the Or HaHaim and says, actually, now with this, it seems to me that the fact that the tribe of Levi had 22,000 was a miracle, because that's a big number to have, considering the fact that they stopped having kids. Whether you say that they had only 2 kids or they stopped altogether, but whatever it is, the fact that they had 22,000 is already itself a big miracle. And that's why once they started re-engaging in intimacy and having more children, that's why you see the jump in the number from the Exodus all the way to the book of Divrei Hayamim, more than the rest of the tribes. So this is the third answer of the Or HaHaim. Really fascinating stuff when you study like in depth like this, and you really have all the different numbers and the facts and the midrashim, and you put it all together. And so these are the 3 answers. Again, answer number 1, they decreased because of the curse of Yaakov. Or HaHaim doesn't like it. Number 2, they decreased because they weren't afflicted as much, so they didn't grow as much. Or HaHaim doesn't like it either. Answer number 3, they decreased because they stopped having children. They stopped having children because they separated from their wives during this time period of the during this time frame of the slavery. They stopped having kids, and the rest of the Jewish people kept having kids, and that's why they fell in number, and that's the answer that the Or HaHaim endorses. Either way, we'll stop over here, my friends. Have a wonderful and blessed day, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.